This is not the naming of a post office. This is a profound question about where our priorities are as a nation. Are our priorities as a nation the borders of Ukraine or the borders of the United States? We had a chance in the beginning to perhaps discuss both, but immediately that chance was lost when the proposal to control the border was inadequate, would have actually been less than the current law, would have actually allowed 1.8 million illegal immigrants to continue to flow into the country. The battle to attach border security to this bill was lost, frankly, when the Democrat co-sponsor tweeted out to the public how proud he was that the bill would never close the border. That even under an emergency, as the bill defined it, even with 5,000 people coming across illegally, that the ports of entry would always be open. And the American people reacted, and they called us, as they've called us by the thousands today, to say, continue the debate. Don't give up. The debate is worth it. Our phone lines have been jammed all day. People have been texting in messages saying, don't give up the fight. The fight is worth it. The fight is worth it on many levels. Most profoundly, the fight is worth it because we have no money. More than the debate over the border, more than the debate over whether we should fund Ukraine, the fight is over whether or not we are going to stave off calamity by controlling our expenditures. And when we have priorities, will we set those priorities where we spend the money where it is most needed? I'll never forget being in a committee hearing, and a member of the opposite party looked at me and said, we shouldn't have to make choices. Because I said, shouldn't we set priorities? Shouldn't we spend money on what is most important and leave those things not as important for another day when we have more money? Because you see, this is the way government operates at every level other than in Washington. If you go to your city council at any city, anywhere in the country, or you go to your county magistrates, or you go to your state government, they are all constrained by spending that which comes in. We are the only government in America, unfortunately the biggest and most expensive, but we're the only government in America that is not constrained by their budget. In fact, we don't even have a budget most years. We don't operate under a budget currently. They can't even take the time to pass a budget. But even if there were a budget, it's not constrained by the amount of money that comes in. We just spend. There are never any priorities set saying, well, this is more important than this, so we'll have to wait till next year to spend the money on this. So it's always just spend it on everything. But as we come to this crisis in our country, with $34 trillion debt, we're adding between $200 and $300 billion in debt every month. Our interest payment is doubled. We're basically borrowing to pay the rent. This is a disaster unfolding before us. There are some who describe a black swan event. Nassim Taleb wrote a book called The Black Swan. It's an unexpected big event that just sort of consumes, like the 2008 crisis we had. Some predicted it, but it was still a black swan in that it arose out of nowhere and was enormous. But many people are calling this more of the white swan. It's a big event, it's an important event, but it's unfolding in slow motion. It's unfolding with all kinds of warning signs. The Federal Reserve Chairman, Powell, recently said, in the last week or two, he said that the debt is urgent, that somebody must do something about it. But when you tell that to many members of this body, that it's urgent that we deal with the debt, the response to the debt wouldn't be sending $100 billion to another country. The responsibility of dealing with the debt, the urgency of the debt, would be to do something about controlling expenditures. And yet the response of this body, upon hearing from the Federal Reserve Chairman, upon hearing from the chairman of J.P. Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon, that he was concerned about the accumulation of debt, upon hearing from economist after economist that this is unfolding, that the interest rates are rising, that interest rates are going to squeeze out other spending, and that there may come a day in which we destroy the dollar, the response is to send $100 billion to Ukraine? So while superficially and initially the debate here has been about whether Ukraine comes first or America comes first, so many bills here are inappropriately titled. Many of them say they're going to do all of these great things, but in the end, there's a more accurate title for so many bills. And the more accurate title for this bill would be Ukraine first, America last, because they're prioritizing the border of Ukraine over the border of the United States.